Hey there, HD 109. What's going on? My name is Will Campbell, and I am your candidate for the Texas House of Representatives for here in HD 109. Goes from Cedar Hill to Seagoville. So, still recovering from shoulder surgery. Doctor did a fantastic job. Dr. John Harris over at Mansfield Methodist. Highly recommend him if you ever need any work done on your shoulder. So, last couple of days I've been trying to do videos just following up on an event that occurred on July 20th. Where James Talarico came to town. And as a part of this process, they informed everybody that was there, because it's majority black in our community. For HD 109, we're a majority-minority district, which is kind of silly. Why do they have to tag the minority part on? You're the majority, right? So they're coming here to try to win your vote. They're trying to convince you guys that these are the ones that you want to vote for, that represent you. And a part of what they're trying to do in coming out here and reaching out to you is to tell you that there are things going on at the state level that affect the black community directly. And one of those things that they're talking about is whitewashing of black history in the textbooks, or actually attempting to erase history in some of the statements that they have made. And so, being a guy running as y'all's representative, if that's true, I'm going to do everything possible to totally reverse that. If it's true that the School Board of Education is actually removing black history from our history books, that's absurd. That's indefensible. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do, pass whatever legislation has to be passed, to require them to include black history. But here's some of the claims that they've made.
We've seen them attempt to whitewash our history curriculum. We've seen them try to ban books from diverse authors in our school libraries. There is a full frontal assault on public education in this country, and it's why we need a proven fighter for our schools in the U.S. Senate. It's why we need a teacher in the United States Senate.
All right, so there you go, full frontal assault, right? This is a lot of the words that they're trying to use, attacking the Republican Party and those that are currently in power, saying that they're full frontal assault on public education, that we're whitewashing history or attempting to erase history. Let's see what Aicha Davis has to say. She was at this event, and she said that she fully supports James Talarico.
To public schools, everything should be all fine. But when you have Congress that's trying to shut down the U.S. Department of Education, everything is not all good. When you have a State Board of Education that would rather students pick and choose Bible verses than learn about black history, it is not all good.
Now, I shared that particular clip off of one of my other videos here, but you got to hear what she's saying. It's either read, pick, and choose some Bible verses, which I've already shown. That's the way that they're portraying it is false, but or learn about black history. So that means that what they're telling you is that the school board has made the choice of removing black history in place of including a couple of Bible passages that make up less than like 3% of the total reading curriculum, right? So there's that claim as well. Now we can also go to, there's in the popular media, as Texas will minimize racial, geographic, and cultural diversity in social studies lessons after the State Board of Education approved a rewrite of K-8 social studies curriculum. So you see how this is being portrayed, right? It's being made into this big, extreme problem. So me running for office, things like this, I want to get rid of, right? I want to make sure that true, factual history about Texas, about the United States, about black, you can't tell American history without telling black history, right? That's just the reality of it. And we have to be honest and forthright about slavery, about racism in our country, and everything else. And that needs to be included in our curriculum. And I'm not aware of anybody in the Republican Party that's calling to remove any of that. So whenever I hear this coming from people who are in office right now, these are people who are in office, and they're coming to our district and telling us that these terrible things are going on, right? On Aicha Davis's website, she's still suggesting it. Stop MAGA's attempt to rewrite science and erase history from textbooks, right? This is on her On the Issues. Okay, excellent. I agree, absolutely. If they're attempting to erase history or rewrite science, yeah, 100%. That needs to stop. I'm against it. So, what do we always want to do whenever these things happen? Well, first, instead of becoming emotional, we want to, okay, is that true? So, here's what I've done. I've gone and done some research here. And feel free to go to the website. If you go all the way down, I'll have the link in the description. Go down to the bottom, you can see all the original sources. And down here at the bottom, you can see the actual final approved curriculum. That's down here at the bottom, so you can read it for yourself and make up your own mind, right? Do you believe it's been whitewashed or something's been erased? You know, make up your own mind on that. But here's what my analysis of this did, right? I've got to figure out what law can be made to undo the acts of the School Board of Education if it is true that they've done the things that these folks are coming down and telling us that they've done. And these are our representatives. They're supposed to be down there in Austin, being our eyes, being our ears, and coming back here and informing us on what's going on and what they're going to do about it, right? Now, there's a whole lot of things that they said, and they didn't really say anything about what they're going to do about it. But they made a lot of claims. And in reviewing what was done, scroll on up here. So I took a look at Texas Tribune, had some things that they put out there. They were at the meetings and put out their reports. And then, of course, you can see the actual finished product and you can compare between the two. And so there was some board of advisors that was established. And the Texas School Board, you got 10-5. 10 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and then the decisions were made 9-4 and 9-5, depending on the specific vote on any given day. And this board of advisors was, big commentary was, oh, they're not actually teachers, and they're these people with different backgrounds, a lot of conservative individuals that are on it, that kind of thing. Now, that board of advisors made their recommendations, and they have their reasons for why they did the things that they did, and you can go and review those for yourself. But here's what ended up happening. So the cause of the Civil War, the thing that's being suggested is de-emphasizing slavery's centrality to it. Now, anybody who studies the Civil War, that's always been the argument. There's one side that say it was more about states' rights. There's the other side that says it was all about slavery. So that's been restored. Removed from standards about Nat Turner's rebellion, but it was reinserted, right? Heightened sectional tensions is what it did. Removal of Ku Klux Klan and Reconstruction, reference to intimidating African Americans specifically, right? And so this is Reconstruction, post Civil War and all that. So they restored that back to limit the rights of African Americans in Texas during Reconstruction. So that's been maintained, right? Again, this is the Republican board that is voting to restore this and rejecting what the advisors are recommending. So there was another one, definition of racial segregation, keeping people apart based on color of the skin. So it's kind of tricky in how this one is done. It's not redefining racial segregation, but just segregation. And this is in K through 8 education. So that removal stood, right? Identifying segregation can be for things, segregation based on religion, based on race. Then you have race-based rationale for U.S. slavery. That removal stood because the expansion of slavery in the United States and what all was included in it goes beyond race. It was just the purchasing of slaves from Africa and bringing them over. These are the reasons that they gave for it, right? There was slavery that was coming for many other reasons than race. And then Tulsa Race Massacre, calling it the Tulsa Race Riots. That change was adopted initially in the approved standards per the Tribune, but in the end, it's still being called the Tulsa Race Massacre. The removal of Henry O. Flipper, right, the first black West Point graduate, and they replaced him with bringing Bessie Coleman in, right? So there's, you got to pick and choose the different people that you're going to be talking about, right? There was Martin Luther King being removed, and then he was brought back in. Harriet Tubman being framed and compared to Moses, so they restored that. It was recommended to remove that comparison between the two and what Harriet Tubman was doing. Bringing Bessie Coleman in, that was added, that was approved. So, and what was corrected, King was brought back in, right? So these are the things that were talked about, things that were considered, and what was restored. So at the end of it, when you review everything that was done and everything that remains in Black history, this whole list, you can go and see it all. There is not an erasure of Black history going on. Out of all of the content, right? So there's about 82. It kind of depends on how you want to analyze it. It's like 82 to 86 references in the K through 8th grade curriculum that was passed that are specific to Black history and slavery, racism, Jim Crow, civil rights. About 82 references to this that need to be included in our social studies program. Out of those, about 5 were changed, right? And in their change, it was one thing being swapped out for another. It wasn't the removal of this history. And it's not a whitewashing of it either. So as you review all of these, you can see, what was the arguments that this particular group was making. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. Many of them, kind of hit or miss. It's one of those things. But as I look through it, and I'm going based on the claims that are being made here, I'm not seeing where there's an erasure going on. I'm not seeing history being erased. I'm not seeing whitewashing of things occurring here. Now, there's many arguments that we can make about the different textbooks that are used. So there is that, right? What the textbook authors actually do, the people who write it, and that's on the textbook guys, right? That's not on the School Board of Education or the Republicans who voted in favor of retaining all of these things, rejecting advisors' recommendations, keeping only a few of them in our history. So this is the thing that's important to grab out of it. The reality of this situation is that there are still tons of Black history references, tons of Black history figures that are taught in the curriculum under social studies, approved by the Republican School Board. So these claims that the Republicans are trying to whitewash things, trying to make you pick between Bible passages or learning Black history, all of these statements are just simply not true. But they know that they can use these things because these are good sound bites, right? These are good sound bites that can really get people worked up when you take them out of context and you don't tell them what actually happened. Saying, hey, either vote for us or Black history is getting erased. Vote for us or everything's going to be whitewashed and your children aren't going to know their history. Those claims just aren't true. You can go and review it for yourself, see exactly what it is that they did. I have it all on here. All of the content that is in here, it's tons of content. It's the history of racism and slavery and Black history and everything that goes on in the United States throughout its history. And whenever we put this in the perspective of global affairs and everything, all of that is included. It's all still there. Nothing has been removed. Anything that was removed was replaced by an alternative. So there's not, these things that they're claiming just simply aren't true. And you can go and read everything that is on this. But here's the thing that's most important that I'm kind of surprised that people aren't identifying. For the TEA, let's see, where is this one at? Statiques. All right. So with the teaching of history, there is nothing in what the school board has done that says teachers can't expand upon what these minimum requirements are. These are minimum standards. They've got to teach all history, and they got to do it in 8 years. You got to think they've got to compete with other classes. They only have a couple of classes a day or a week throughout the entire school year. And at the end of the day, you've got to limit down what all you can really contain in your history classes. So they got to pick and choose across a lot of things. That's no easy feat. I give hats off to the school board. Hats off to Aicha Davis for going and being on the school board. Right? That's a hard, difficult thing to figure out and try to make everybody happy. Now, what they've included in here for you guys to know, here in HD 109, every single one of our school districts, Cedar Hill, Lancaster, DeSoto, and the Dallas School District coming down here, we have the ability to include in our elective courses a what's the right words? Ethnic studies, African American studies, and this is a full credit course for high school students, right? You can have additional electives that go deeper into African American studies, that go deeper into Black history. So that's not something that gets determined by Austin, that gets determined by your local school board. Now, somebody needs to point out to me any Black teachers that are out there with an all-Black classroom that are not going to go deeper into their lessons on Black history in America. They're going to do it, and they have the freedom to do it. There's nothing holding them back. So as much as they want to suggest that the Republicans are trying to whitewash it or restrain it or whatever, they're not. They haven't changed any rule whatsoever that prohibits teachers from being able to go deeper into Black history. And as we all know, that's what teachers are going to do because our teachers are awesome, right? Now, there's also the ability to have new electives that they can bring in. And we have one program that's already authorized as a full credit course for doing ethnic studies and African American studies in particular. Same thing for Hispanic studies as well. And it's all available. They can do this at any time. So if you believe that your kids are not getting taught Black history in the schools, you can go to the school boards, you can work with the superintendent, you can work with the staff there to add to the courses electives and other classes where they can go and get that deeper education that you really want your children to have. So that's the reality of things. To suggest that the Republican Party is trying to whitewash history or erase history is just simply false. It's not true. And it's being used as a tactic to attempt to garner the Black vote here in HD 109 in support of someone whose policies and claims and things are just extreme. And they want to try to drown out the extreme beliefs that he has by attempting to invoke emotion, this emotional response, the Black history that's out there that we all know is real. It's an ugly history, right? We all got to acknowledge that fact. But they're trying to exploit that reality in order to garner votes by making you angry and by telling you lies, things that clearly aren't true. So take that for what it is. Thank you for watching. I got the other videos on here. I'll have the link in the description here. Again, my name is Will Campbell. I am your candidate for the House of Representatives for HD 109. That goes from Cedar Hill to Seagoville. And as always, guys, Jesus loves you, and I approve this message.